back to the Mindset Map podcast. I have had a really long break from this podcast over the summer and I've really missed it. So I am so happy to be back. So looking forward to sharing another little episode with you today. Today I wanted to talk about overwhelm and I wanted to share with you my 5 steps to conquer feelings of overwhelm. These are things that I know help me in that moment where I'm struggling with feeling overwhelmed and really just help me to stop and get clarity and start taking action. Let's just crack on and get started with tip number 1. So my first tip is really a simple language shift. We often hear ourselves saying, I'm overwhelmed. I am overwhelmed. And what we're doing there is we are allowing this sense of overwhelm to become part of our identity. And that is a lot harder for our brains to kind of shift out of, if you see what I mean. So all I want you to do in this very first instance, if you hear yourself saying, I'm overwhelmed, go, no, wait, stop. I am feeling overwhelmed, or I'm feeling a sense of overwhelm. And what this really does is it really just helps our brains to learn that this is an emotion. Overwhelm is an emotion. It's a state of feeling. It's not part of our identity. It's not who we are. It's not part of us. It's just a feeling that we are experiencing. I am experiencing feelings of overwhelm is very different to I am overwhelmed. So that is my very first tip for you. Very simple, but it really works in just helping our brains to understand that this is a passing emotion. So that is step number 1. Step number 2 is to take a moment to regulate your nervous system. Now, this may feel very counterintuitive. If you are feeling overwhelmed and you are feeling like you've got 1,000,001 things that you need to do and you've got to get started and you don't know where to start, me saying, okay, we're going to take a pause and actually not going to do anything right this second feels like, what? It's like, that's the opposite of what I need to do. I need to get on, I need to crack on, I need to make a start. But if we start to try and take action when we're in this state of feeling this overwhelm, feeling a little bit out of control, then it doesn't help to reduce that feeling of overwhelm. In fact, it probably makes us feel more overwhelmed because we don't know where to start. We try taking action. It's maybe not on the thing that's going to help us the most. And so therefore we still feel overwhelmed, but yet we've done something and then we get annoyed with ourselves. Oh, I've done these tasks, but yet I'm still feeling this overwhelm. And so it's not the most helpful place to start. So the helpful place to start is to get calm, is to regulate our nervous system. Now, honestly, we can do this so quickly. So I'm not saying you need to go and sit in a dark room and stare at a wall for 3 days. No, what we need to do is something very quick but effective that just calms us down and regulates our nervous system. So there's a couple of things that you can do in this moment. One of these is some breathing techniques, and another one is some mindfulness techniques. Now, I love either one of these and I probably use them both in various different settings, but just go with the one that feels right for you in the moment, that feels like it's feels like it's going to be most calming and most easy to adopt, because you don't want to take on something that feels like it's another job or another chore or something you've got to learn and understand. These are really, really simple. So firstly, the breathing one is what we call a box breathing technique. So essentially what we're going to do here is allow our breathing to regulate, which will calm our nervous systems down and allow that to regulate. So everything just feels a bit calmer, a bit more in control. And so all you need to do for this one is just sit calmly, just sit comfortably, or go and stand outside in the garden. It's really good if you can do this out in fresh air. It's a wonderful place to do it. If not, just sitting on your chair, just take yourself away from your computer, away from your phone, away from the things that have all these distractions at you. And just sitting comfortably, and you're just going to breathe in a regular pattern. Now, I like to choose the number 5, just because I find that works for me, but feel free to play around with what works for you. And all you're going to do is you're going to breathe in for 5, and you're going to imagine yourself moving up the side of a box. And then you're going to hold your breath for another 5, and you're going to imagine moving across the top of a box. And then you're going to breathe out for 5, imagining coming down the other side of the box. And then again, holding for 5 across the bottom of the box. So you're joining back up where you started. And then you just repeat this a few times, maybe 4 or 5 times. Just go round the box using this breathing technique until you feel calmer, until you feel more relaxed and in a state ready to have a look at the things that are making you feel overwhelmed. So that's a breathing one. And then there are lots and lots of different mindfulness techniques that you can use, but essentially we're wanting to kind of ground ourselves in the present moment. So rather than worrying about all the million and one things of potential problems and issues and things that we've got to think about, we want to just ground ourselves as to where we are right now physically. And so in order to do that, we use all our 5 senses. So all you need to do in this moment is you just need to say, right this moment, let me look and see what I can see. And you just look around you and you find one thing and you name it. So at the moment I'm sitting here, I can see my plant in my room. Okay, so I can see that. The next thing you do is, okay, what can I smell? So you have a nice deep breath in, you see, okay, I can smell something from breakfast this morning. In fact, I can see there's a little plate over there and I can smell a little bit of toast from my son's breakfast. That's something I can smell. Then you go, okay, what can I hear? Okay, if I listen really carefully, I can hear the wind in the tree outside in my garden. And then what can I touch? So what can I feel? So place your hands in front of you so I can feel the ridges on the seat that I'm sat on. And I can feel the pattern of that. And then your 5th one is, what can I taste? So I can taste some of the water that I've just drunk, or I can taste some coffee that I've had. Just feeling sort of what's in your mouth and what can you taste. And by using those sort of 5 senses, becoming aware of where you are in this present moment, kind of just allows our brain to stop whirring around in the kind of possibilities, but actually focus on what's real and what's happening right now and right in this moment. So those are the 2 possibilities. You've got the box breathing, or you've got the using your 5 senses to ground yourself in the present moment. Either of those will help to regulate your nervous system. And as you saw, they take no more than a couple of minutes. And then you are ready to move on to the next step in tackling this feeling of overwhelm. Okay, so my 3rd step is to get everything out of your head. Get it out of your head as much as you can. Now, there are various different ways that you can do this, and you might want to just play around with what works the best for you. Some people find a good old brain dump is brilliant. You just literally get a blank page and just scribble and scribble and scribble and scribble all the things that are in your head. It doesn't need to make sense. It doesn't need to be a list. It doesn't need to be tasks. It's just literally a brain dump of everything that is floating around in your head, and get it all out on paper. Other people find that maybe that is not, that feels more overwhelming, putting all the stuff down and just seeing a whole massive load of stuff on the paper and then not knowing what to do with it. So other people might find it handy to sort of put things into sections. This is something I really love to do. I create what I call capture lists in various different areas of my life. So if I know that there's all sorts of things going on, I will have a capture list for each of those. And then I'm just going to jot down all the things that I feel like I need to do in each of those sections. So for example, you might have one for work, you might have one for house and general admin tasks, you might have one for some voluntary work that you do, all sorts of things, whatever all the different elements, moving parts of your life, have a little pot for each of those. Now I like to use something called Trello, which allows me to put all these different lists in different places and different boards, and then you can kind of categorize stuff, and I find that really helps me because I can then put everything into different pots and have it all in different places and know, okay, that's my list for house stuff, that's my list for marketing, that's my list for the podcast, all different things like that. So that helps for me. Other people, you may just like to have good old-fashioned pen and paper and just write a new page for each section and write down all the different things on there. If you're someone who either doesn't really enjoy writing or finds seeing everything written down actually more overwhelming, then you can experiment. Maybe things like leaving yourself voice notes. Sometimes that can really help if you just want to speak it. and just say, oh my God, these are all the things that I'm thinking about. This is what I need to do. And you can just speak it into a voice note on your phone or on your computer. And that can be a helpful way to get out of your head without having to write down if that's not your thing. So that is step 3, is getting it out of your head and somewhere on paper, in a voice note, whatever it works for you. Step 4 is to remind yourself of what is really important to you. And to remember that what's really important to you might not be the same as what's important to someone else. So don't be worried about what other people might think of these kind of choices, or don't be influenced by others. Now, you may hear some people say that they can't possibly do any work on their business unless, you know, their work area is completely clear, clutter-free, totally tidy. And that's for them. So the thing that's probably the most important for that person is to get their area tidy, clutter-free, before they can then focus on something else. So that's the thing that they're probably going to want to focus on first. That's the thing that's really important to them. But ask yourself honestly, is that really that important to you? Because sometimes tidying and cleaning up and clearing things can just be a distraction where we don't really want to do the task that we know we really should be doing. So really ask yourself what it is that's most important to you. Is it tidying your area, or is it making progress on, you know, a business task? Is it getting stuff organized for the kids that's, you know, that's been on your mind for a long time? Is it, you know, ordering your child's birthday presents, sorting out their birthday party? Whatever it is, what is the thing that's really like important to you? And think about that when you start to think about all these different things that you've got on your various lists. And then the 5th and final step is to, following on from that about what's important, is then just to find a task in all these things that you feel like you've got to do. Find a task that you feel will have the most impact on you right now, right in this moment, and do that. So, you know, if you're feeling overwhelmed and you've got loads and loads of stuff that you feel like you need to do, doing something that's maybe just a task that you've been putting off that you know you needs doing sometime, let's say just organizing your files, tidying up your desk, something like that, it's probably not going to have a huge impact on how you're feeling, and it's not going to have a huge impact on this kind of list of things that you feel like is overwhelming you and things that you feel like you need to do, because really it's kind of a more minor task, and it's sort of maybe sort of future organization, great, but in this moment when you're feeling overwhelmed, it's not going to be the thing that's really going to help you get moving, get unstuck and get going again. So look at your tasks in terms of what's the thing that's going to have an impact. Like if you know that you're so close to a deadline on something and you just need to get it finished and then you'll feel calmer because that's done, then do that, because then you'll feel like, okay, that is completely done, ticked off my list. I don't have to think about it anymore. It's gone, it's out of my brain. I can now move on to something else. So always pick the thing that you're going to do first is the thing that's going to have the most impact on you right now. So there we have it. Those are my 5 steps when you're feeling overwhelmed. I hope this all helps. And as always, come and follow me. I'm at Rachel Bloomfield Coaching on all the socials. I love to chat with you. So come over, drop me a message. Let me know what you thought of this episode. If you've got any thing you want me to cover in future episodes, any mindset tips or strategies, then please let me know. I always love to receive your comments. And I'll see you soon.